Hi everyone, welcome to Stampin' Storytellers. Today I have a fun card using new product from the Mini Catalog that starts January 2021. It goes all the way until the end of June. And then Celebration also starts in January 5th to the end of February. So usually Celebration is 3 months, January, February, and March. But this year we're going to have a 2-month celebration, January, February, and then we're going to have another celebration 2-month period later in the year. So to get started, I'm going to show you the art gallery stamp set. It also has these coordinating dies. We're not going to use the dies today on this card, but I will on my next project. So this is a really fun 2-step stamping, or you can use heat embossing and emboss this one. Part of the suite is some gilded leafing, and it uses heat and stick powder, I guess, and then you use the gilded leafing. It's really cool. Mine hasn't arrived yet, but I will show you eventually once I have it. Then we have this beautiful designer series paper. This is probably a half a pack. I've used quite a bit of it already. And it's really bright florals that looks like they used a palette knife to create them. So quite busy. You don't need a full sheet on one project. And then the other side is just light colored and a couple patterns in there. Really nice complementary paper. Obviously the back side is very different than the front, so if you liked this more, then you could use this side instead of the busy flower side. But this piece of paper is definitely amazing. Along with this one is very special because it also has this gold acetate that coordinates. So there's one like this, one that has just flowers on it, and then the other one that coordinates with this piece of paper. This is what I have left of my other sheet. It actually overlays and matches perfectly on that wonderful paper. It really adds to it. The other thing with this gold on this side, if you don't like gold, it's silver on the other side, so you can use it for other projects instead of pulling the gold out of the paper. And the last part of this suite is this fine art ribbon, and it's like a crumb cake linen color with gold flaking in it. It's really pretty. We're going to use that today. So to get started, I will start with a crumb cake card base that I have scored at the normal 5.5. So this is 11 inches long, scored at 5.5 and 4. So that just leaves a narrow piece at the bottom there. So we'll start by folding that in half. And then this is going to be our easel part, and I'm going to fold that inside. So it's still going to lay like this, but we're going to make a mini easel so that it really stands up straight. For the inside, I have a layer of Whisper White, and I'm not going to stamp on it, but I do have 2 strips. One rich raspberry, just 1/4 of an inch, or maybe 5/8 of an inch. And a really this is 1/4 of an inch strip of this designer series paper. So I'm going to start by adhering this designer series paper to my rich raspberry layer, just right in the center. My rich raspberry layer is too long. It's only going to need to be the width of your inside layer, which this is 5 1/4 by 4. So I'm going to let that dry. Then I'll take some mini dimensionals and put them in a line just towards the bottom. I find this is easier than putting it on my strip and then putting it on my cardstock. Okay, so I got the backings off there. That was a bit of a struggle. But now I can just hold my piece straight and press it down. And that way you can watch easier to make sure that it's straight. And you don't have to pull it back up and then it's hard to get back down. So then I just trim the edges off. So this layer can get adhered into the card. And now, once we do the card front, it will pop up and you can still write your message. And then when the recipient displays it, it will stand up instead of just standing like this. So to make the card front, I have a layer of rich raspberry that's 5 1/4 by 4. Then this one is a funny size. It's a 16th. So this is 3 by 5. And this layer of Rococo Rose is a 1/16 of an inch bigger. And that's just a very narrow border. And those are all going to layer there. And then I have 2 pieces, one Mossy Meadow and one Whisper White. And they're both 2 1/2 by 4. So this is the only layer that we're going to stamp on with our regular ink. I'm going to start with Rich Raspberry and the detailed image of our flower. I find it's easier to do this one first than try and line this one up in the shadow. So I'm going to stamp that towards the top. And then in Rococo Rose ink, we'll do the larger, more solid image. See if I can line it up. There. And see how it gives us that really nice two-tone look. You can do it with tone on tone, but I really like the look of the definition of those shadows on there. Then we are using Mossy Meadow cardstock, but my Mossy Meadow ink pad, I need a new one, and I just re-inked my Old Olive, and it's really dark, and it looks like Mossy Meadow. So we're going to use Old Olive, but you can use Mossy Meadow as well, or Old Olive if that's what you have. Then I might need a scrap piece of paper. This might go off the edge a little bit. So there's our leaves. So I'll let that dry. It's pretty inky, but you can see that my Old Olive really looks like Mossy Meadow. Then on our narrow, this will just be our sentiment strip of Mossy Meadow cardstock in Versamark ink. So I'm just going to use my sleeve and brush it along here. This is kind of replacing the embossing buddy. As long as it doesn't have your oily fingerprints on it, then the embossing powder shouldn't stick to where you don't want it. So I'm going to use the Happy Birthday sentiment and stamp that there. And this was Versamark ink used with embossing powder. My white embossing powder. And there's our embossing powder. And just to see how I rubbed it with my sleeve first, it really got rid of any of the static or oil on the paper first. And then the embossing powder only sticks to the Versamark ink and not everywhere. So we'll heat that up. And then using the tailored tag punch or your triple banner punch or the pick a banner punch, whichever one you use that is your favorite to make a banner, I'm going to cut off the end that has the birthday and leave this one straight. Well, let's banner it too. Might as well. But I am going to leave a little bit extra banner room on that end. Now we can adhere all of our layers. So we'll start with Rococo Rose onto Rich Raspberry. Then I have our layer of designer series paper, and I can't even tell you what the name of it is. Art Gallery, maybe. I'll check the package. But you'll see now that I've adhered those layers, it's a really narrow border, but I just liked it to offset the rich raspberry from that lightest color. That's acetate. The designer series paper is called Fine Art Floral designer series paper, and it will be available January 5th. Then on our rich raspberry layer, we only want adhesive on the bottom so that our card stands up. So I'm going to put it down here to make sure that I don't have any excess past that score line. And center that on there. Then our layer of Mossy Meadow, that again was 2.5 by 4. This one is going to be centered, just like a regular layer. And this one is going to be on an angle, like so. Then we have our happy birthday sentiment. And put that right across there. And now we need to embellish. This ribbon is really great, but for this card, it's a little bit too wide. So I'm going to take a length of it, and I don't have my good scissors. I'll take about 10 or 12 inches, and I'm going to cut it down the middle. And some of it will fray a little bit, but if you're careful, it won't fray too badly. And then you're doubling how much ribbon you have. So instead of 10 yards on the roll, if you did this to the whole roll, you'd have 20 yards. I'll show you a project when we're done this one that I used the full ribbon. It's not wider than any other ribbon. It's just a little bit thicker. And for this card, I wanted a small bow, but I wanted to, instead of using linen thread, I wanted to still have that gold flaking in there. So then I can tie a bow. Just like regular. And trim my ends on an angle, maybe. And add that with a glue dot. And there's our card. So then, now that it's dry, it can stand up. Usually an easel card, or usually how I've made them, is I score about halfway on the card front. And I liked this one because it stands up more than the other one, and it won't show your message. So you can still write your full message, but when you're standing it up, then you don't have as much of it showing. So there's our Fine Art Floral or Art Gallery card. from brand new products available January 5th. If you'd like to shop my online store, my January host code is live now. Celebration doesn't start until January 5th though, so for these products and to earn Celebration products, that doesn't start until January 5th. But if you already have your catalog and you can make your picks from the Celebration, so for every $60 you spend, you get to choose a free item from this brochure. There is a level 2 item, so if you spend $120, you can choose the larger item in here, or the higher priced item, I guess. That's how they kind of base it, is that it's a larger stamp set, and so in order to earn it for free, you have to spend $120. But if you have this in the mail, make your wish list. Here's the gold leafing or gilded leafing that I was talking about that goes with this suite. It's a very nice suite, and there's lots of amazing products in here. This catalog is 91 pages, so it's not really mini. There's a lot of stuff in it, and it goes all the way until June. One project I will show you with this gold trim. This is using the Darling Donkeys stamp set and combining it with this full suite that I just showed you. He's so cute. We'll make this card on my next video. Again, I thank you for stopping by and watching my video today. If you'd like to shop my online store, here's my host code and my blog, stampinstorytellers.blogspot.com. I hope to see you there, and thanks for joining me. Bye!